Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Cris Worley with Cris Worley Fine Arts, and I'm here today with Kelli Vance on the occasion of her 4th solo exhibition at the gallery, We Don't Sleep, that runs May 21st through June 25th. Kelli, let's get right to it.
Let's do it, Cris.
This is, like I said, your 4th show with the gallery, and over the years, there's been a progression in the work, but there's always been a central theme. And you paint women in psychological situations, narratives that are unknown. And I would love for you to tell our viewers more about where that imagery comes from.
Sure. I guess it starts with childhood, right? So where I think a lot of artists tend to hang on to things that they discover in childhood, whether that be paintings, like things artistically that they're exposed to, or experiences. A lot of podcasts I've listened to with other artists, a lot of them tend to realize that the things that they are interested in are things that remain since a young age. And so growing up, my father was a police officer, and I internalized the experiences that I thought he might be having, not knowing where he was, not knowing if he was in danger. I really kind of ran wild with certain thoughts when I was young, and my imagination was really, really active. And so for me, a normal day for him was kind of terrifying for me. I think from when I was young and growing up, I always looked at things through a lens of a little bit of a fear-based reaction, or an unknowing and a mysterious kind of vibe to everything. I always felt like I didn't have the whole picture, and I never knew really what was happening. And so I feel like that experience has really been in the work from the beginning, and it keeps transforming in different ways depending on kind of what I'm tackling at the moment, but that element has always been there. And I think it's become maybe the most apparent in this body of work.
And the central figure, the female figure, is you in all of these paintings in this exhibition, and has been as long as I've known your work. But you have painted other female figures, always women, only women. And I'm interested to know why it's only women, and then why now it's only you as the subject.
Yeah, I feel like I always paint women because I can only speak to the experience of being a woman and how we relate to the world. So I feel like as a woman growing up, you know, you go through all these different phases in life where you feel like maybe there's something to be scared of. What does this person want from me? What is the world presenting me with as a female? What do I have to navigate? So I feel like I can speak to experiences as a woman. As far as it being myself in these moments, through my process when I'm photographing, getting all these images set up for these paintings, it's almost like I become an actress and I have to find the scene. So I don't plan out any of these situations beforehand. And so I take all these props, these things that I collect, and then kind of put them together and play with them and kind of say like, oh, what can happen? What can possibly be happening in this space with these things?
Yeah, and so just to touch on that real quickly, for our audience, you are staging yourself or others, yourself now, in these scenarios and taking photographic images that then become the study or the reference point for the paintings.
Yes,
right?
yes. And I could take, gosh, sometimes the paintings I'll take like 100 pictures minimum to find the right thing, because it really can be as simple as like a finger, you know, it's kind of like poised a certain way, or a grip where you can see the veins that creates a tension. You know, so if you don't have just the right motion, it doesn't convey the scene. It doesn't convey what I think is the most powerful component in the image. And so when I've used other people, I feel like I can't direct them because I don't know what I'm looking for. I know a general feeling, I know a general kind of tension that I find through the acting, but with another person, unless maybe I should try hiring a professional actress and then they can know what to do. But when I've used like friends or just people I know, it's really hard to tell them what I want because I don't know until I find it. So that has really been the reason that I use myself most of the time.
So I imagine then going through the photographs, you start to uncover things that are interesting, right? And
yes.
then you base the painting on that, and then if you need to change, well, the hand isn't quite right here, you find another hand that sort of suits the setting.
Yeah, and even in the process of photographing, you know, I'll change the lighting situation, you know, 4, 5, 6 times, maybe more, depending on, because I might go through and check the camera after I've taken, let's say, 30 pictures and been like, ooh, maybe there should be a shadow there, or maybe there should be something else in this general area. So I'll move lighting around and shift a prop. And so they really do become like kind of a reaction, you know, in the process of working.
This very dramatic lighting that you kind of always employed in the work. Just curious, there's a cinematic quality to the paintings, and I'm wondering if you can tell us more about whether or not film has influenced, or even just in a very low impact kind of way, or what influences do you feel you may have drawn upon aside from your own sort of experiences as a child and your family, the environment that you grew up in, but like what kind of popular culture references do you think are
the film, I could go so many directions with the film references. So I'm not a big film buff, but I definitely enjoy watching films like Hitchcock. You know, it starts there. And once I started seeing those films at a younger age, I was like, oh, something resonated with me, with the way that those films are shot and the characters and the psychological just, you know, intensity that goes on in those films.
Can I interrupt for just a second? Because the painting called The Gut-Wrenching Beauty of It All, which is in this exhibition, very much made me think of Hitchcock. So you've definitely channeled that energy into the work.
It's interesting to me because I'm never referencing a film directly. Like I'm never like looking at a film and being like, ooh, I want to recreate that. You know, so it's, I'm definitely not even looking at film when I'm making these, but those kinds of things stay so ingrained somewhere in your subconscious.
They imprint.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it's like I almost can't help but make images that reflect, you know, kind of aesthetic choices that are made in those kinds of films. Even from the cinematography, there's a great documentary that I know I watched when I was in graduate school, I think, that is about cinematography in the film noir kind of genre, and that was really eye-opening to me, and that changed how I use light when I set these up. But it really spans a wide range of films, so it's like Hitchcock and that kind of intensity there into French New Wave films, and even kind of leading up to the French New Wave, you have like Agnes Varda. You know, she was kind of precursor to all these guys that are, you know, making these kind of angsty existential films. So her film, like Cleo 5 to 7, was a big influence because it follows this woman around all day, and you can just see her psychological state changing with her dread of finding this information out at the end of the film. And then it goes all the way, you know, up to David Lynch, and like just love his film and cinematography and characters, and there's so many places within different genres that I have pulled from and that I just kind of assimilate into my aesthetic.
And then lastly, your titles are always so provocative too that we can't not speak about them. She Came Upon the Noonday Demons is one of my favorite ones. That Melancholy Residue of Desire is another one. Tell us a little bit more about where these titles come from.
They don't come from one place. So sometimes when I finish a painting, I will sit there and just kind of have a conversation with it and let it tell me what it wants to be called. And sometimes those titles are things I make up. and I'll just kind of get like maybe a certain word is kind of sticking from something I read last week, or something like that. And so it's really me responding to the painting after it's done, and I can kind of look at it and like, that's your name. That's what you're telling me. And so that's really how they come about. And sometimes I'll write down. I have like a painting journal of like ideas that I'm coming up with, and I'll write down things that I hear or read if I'm reading a book that just
I know
might.
you read quite a bit,
Yes.
so I assume that there's a lot of reference.
Yeah, there's a lot of phrases and words that kind of get just locked in up here, and it'll be like, oh, that's the word that goes with this. That's the word that goes here, and then what's the rest of that idea? So it really is a communication between the painting and myself at the end.
Well, they're incredibly powerful works, and we are so excited to share these with Dallas and the world. And thank you so much for being here with us today to talk.